today about planning an allergy-friendly party and go over this guide you can get on my website. If you want to get me to email a copy of this to you, go to hungrynordic.com/party-planning-guide, or just scroll down and you'll find a place where you can put in your email address and I'll email you a copy of this. Not right now because I'm broadcasting live, so you'll get it after I'm done broadcasting. Except for I don't think I actually clicked start, so I'm going to check for a moment and make sure that I'm actually going. It says I'm off air, and I'm not sure how to make it say that I'm on air. If you're watching right now, I will be right back. I'm going to try closing this and starting a new one. Okay. Okay, I still see on my screen something that says I'm off air, but I think I actually am on. It's a little confusing on my end. Sorry about that. So, starting over. Hi, I'm Amanda. Welcome to Hungry Nordic. I'm broadcasting live from my kitchen here in Boise. It's just a little bit after 12 p.m. Today, I'm going to go over what I've got here in my allergy-friendly party planning guide. If you would like a copy of this emailed to you, there's a form on my website, hungrynordic.com, where you can enter your email address and I'll email it to you. If you want to go directly to that form, you can go to hungrynordic.com/party-planning-guide. Now, before we dive into this, who Who am I? Why am I talking about allergies and social situations and planning parties? Well, I'm Amanda. I grew up with lactose intolerance. When I was a tiny baby, I just screamed in pain. My mom took me to the doctor and said, this isn't just a fussy baby who's got colic, she's in pain. And they switched me to soy formula and I felt way better and I calmed down and was a more normal baby. Maybe not totally normal. Nobody is, right? But I felt way better. And all through my childhood, I avoided having too much dairy. I got to a point where I could have a little bit, but I grew up with that dietary restriction. When I got to be in my 20s, I finally had the opportunity to do an in-depth elimination diet. I tried when I was in college and hadn't really been successful with sticking to it, and I didn't know enough to be able to do it really well. But in my mid-20s, I got the opportunity to do a very detailed elimination diet, and I figured out by the process of elimination that I was extremely sensitive to gluten, corn, and eggs. And a couple years later, I stopped reacting to eggs. Yay! That was an amazing, amazing thing to be able to have eggs back in my diet. But I figured out that some of the lingering symptoms I had was a hypersensitivity to soy. So now I am carefully avoiding gluten, corn, and soy. And if you have any familiarity with things like celiac disease or allergies to these types of foods, I'm sure you can imagine that makes it pretty difficult to do things like eat out the way that most of American society does. But on the other hand, I'm feeling so much better. I remember when I first figured out how to manage my diet so that I could feel better and avoid so many unwanted symptoms, I'd tell people, oh, I finally figured it out. I have to avoid gluten, corn, and eggs. And they would say, oh, I'm so sorry. That sounds awful. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I feel better. I feel better than I ever have. I don't have a stomach ache. I don't have all these other unwanted symptoms, and it's in my control. I get to choose what goes into my mouth and how careful I am about it. And I'm no longer at the mercy of unknown causes because I knew the causes and I didn't have to deal with the symptoms anymore. When I finally convinced people that, hey, this is a good thing, it's good news that I figured out how I can be healthy by avoiding the foods that cause my problems, the next thing was people who wanted to feed me and didn't know how to be careful enough to feed me without getting me sick. And it's an interesting problem because on the one hand, I'm excited to have people who care about me and who want to express that care by feeding me. And on the other hand, I don't want to get sick again. So that's the story behind why I felt the need to write this party planning guide. This is written for whether you are the person with allergies and you're hosting a party, or whether you are the friend or family member who wants to host a party and invite a guest who has food allergies. Now with that, let's dive in. The first page, I have a little introduction of what's going on. And at the bottom here, I have my email address. And I'm saying, hey, if you get stuck anywhere and you want some help, send me a message. I am a real person over here, not a corporation, so I'm probably not going to email you immediately unless you're very lucky. But if you've got enough time to wait for a reasonable time for me to reply, yes, I would be glad to reply and help you out. My email address is amanda@hungrynordic.com, and I would love to hear from you. All right, so the first section, decide on your details. This is the same no matter what kind of party you're planning or who your guests are. You need to figure out the date, the location, and who to invite. A lot of people, when you're planning a party, you've already got some of these in mind, so work with that. But one point that I want to make very clear is a lot of the time when you're dealing with a new dietary restriction and suddenly everything that you used to do is off limits and you want to do things the way you're used to doing them, it can really help to take a step back, change your perspective and go, you know, we used to always go to this particular restaurant, which we thought was like the nicest restaurant in town. And that's why we would go there, because everybody enjoyed themselves there. But maybe now that we know there's this dietary restriction in the picture, can we look at a different perspective and think maybe going and doing something really special, like going out to the ballet, if it's somebody who enjoys ballet, would be a really special thing to do that doesn't even involve sitting down to a meal. It's something to consider. Sometimes people who have allergies will be comfortable going out to a restaurant, or maybe they know, hey, there's a restaurant in town that's great and they always take good care of me. And maybe they are just at a point where going out to a restaurant sounds more stressful than fun. That's something to consider. And if you take a step back and think about it, you might be able to come up with some different ideas, whether it's going out on an adventure, hiking, or canoeing, getting outside, being active, maybe visiting the zoo or a museum, or going some other place where there's neat things to see, or seeking out the arts, watching a play or a movie or performance. All of those things are great things to do that take the focus off of the food and make it much less stressful for somebody who's got food allergies that can make meal times a bit stressful. Once you've figured out what you're going to do for your party, maybe you do decide to do a dinner party. You can. There's just a few considerations to take into account. But whatever you decide on, a detailed allergy list, especially if you've got more than one person or one person with more than one food allergy, will help you figure out what you're dealing with. On this chart here, I've got the name of the person and then what the problem food is, how sensitive they are, rating on a scale from 1 to 10, and the severity of the reaction on a scale from 1 to 10. This is important. A lot of people will ask me, like, how bad is this allergy? And there's two factors to how bad an allergy is. On the one hand, there's how sensitive am I? Me, personally, I am very sensitive. It's amazing. My husband can eat a granola bar that has corn syrup solids in it. We found this out the hard way. Give me a kiss on his way out the door, and within a couple hours, I can be having a reaction just as if I ate corn on the cob. I'm very, very sensitive to corn, gluten, and thankfully no longer eggs, but now soy. That's frustrating, and it makes it a difficult allergy to deal with. On the other hand, thankfully, the severity of my reactions is not something that's going to land me in the hospital. If you have allergies, I encourage you to figure out a way to talk to people about this, because a lot of people who know a little bit about someone with a food allergy or celiac disease or dietary restriction, they'll have 1 or 2 touch points giving them a frame of reference, and you might be a completely different case. So I put down here, rate your sensitivity to an allergen on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I can only eat a couple servings of this food. That would be like my husband with gluten. He can eat a couple servings, but he really can't have more than that without feeling bad. And 10 being shared equipment or facilities will cause me problems. That means you've got to read those labels carefully. And if they say produced in a facility that also processes wheat and you have a wheat allergy, that's a potential hazard. And then rate severity of adverse reactions on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being mild discomfort for less than an hour and 10 being immediate medical attention required to prevent death. That is a huge spectrum. And the people who have dietary restrictions in their diets have them for different reasons. And it could be anywhere from discomfort to you need to be getting to the ER immediately. A lot of peanut allergies are like that, where immediate medical attention is required, and it is a very serious scenario. I'm thankful that for me, I'm somewhere in the middle where I'm going to be uncomfortable for a few days, but I don't need to go to the hospital. Now, this page in here, I've got tips for talking with people who have a dietary restriction. The first tip and the last tip are both listen carefully. If you stop and just practice those good listening skills, the person who has the allergy, and this is from the perspective of someone who's listening to someone else about their allergies, the person who has the allergies might have some really good ideas for how you can get together and have a fun party and keep everybody happy and healthy, regardless of what the dietary restrictions may be. But if you are in a mindset where you're like, this is what we have to do, a really common one is, hey, I'm going to have a really special dinner for this person who I care about. And special dinner automatically makes me think I have to have a big fancy dessert. Me personally, I don't have dessert all that often anymore. And I would be actually, in a lot of cases, more happy with a second serving of a really delicious vegetable side dish, like maybe garlic Brussels sprouts or something like that. If it's a great vegetable, I could be more happy filling up with another helping of that than having some of the gluten-free desserts out there. The best thing about them is that they're gluten-free, which is not saying much. And I'm just not used to eating dessert all the time. So before you automatically assume that things need to be a certain way, just stop and listen to what this person is really saying. Your assumptions might be correct, they might not be correct. The only way to find out is to pay attention. I've got a few other tips here. One I want to highlight right now is have patience. A lot of the time, the people who have dietary restrictions don't fully understand what the things are that cause them problems. And as frustrating as it is for you to ask someone what their dietary restrictions are and get an unclear answer, it's even more frustrating for the person who has to live with that lack of clarity. So have patience. And then once you've got an idea of what the dietary restrictions are, focus on what everybody can eat. And as soon as you start talking about what everybody can eat, you'll probably will find that there's so many options, and you'll feel like there's just more things than you could possibly choose from. And that is where you can start having fun. So the next steps in here are all about menu planning. Here's the next page. I've got an example of grab a piece of paper and write down your menu and ideas for what to serve, what to put on your menu. Now again, if you have done yourself a favor and decided to go to the zoo or to the theater or something where you get out and do something and food is not the main thing, everybody can bring their own snacks, or maybe you're having a game night and everybody can bring their own snacks. You don't even have to do anything for menu planning. It's taken care of. Don't worry about it. But if you are having a dinner party, it helps to write out a menu, write out an ideas list for the different things you could bring that you could make and serve. And then start to narrow down that list. If you've got an idea for your menus that includes appetizers and side dishes and soup and salad, beverages, and entree, dessert, and snacks in case anybody gets hungry in between things, that would be me. I tend to think, oh, I'm gonna get all this stuff. And really, people aren't coming expecting to have a restaurant experience. A few things will be more than sufficient. So you can cross off, take a look at what you're trying to tackle and cross off anything that's extra that you don't really need it. You don't need to have extra snacks on top of everything in this example. One appetizer would be just fine, and probably just salad. You don't need to have a soup as well. So scale it back to just what you actually need to serve. It's really easy to get really excited by looking at Pinterest. Take a deep breath, calm down, and focus on what the basics are. And next, take that list of ideas of recipes that you've got and compare it against the information about allergies that you got when you talked with people about allergies. And if you're the person with allergies who is planning a party, don't be nervous about serving things that you eat all the time. Those are things that are probably your best dishes. Put them down on your list of ideas. Even if you eat them all the time and they don't feel very special to you because they're everyday to you, they might be a huge treat for your guests because they don't get those all the time. So anyway, go back through your list of ideas and narrow it down based on what's going to work for you and your guests. Take your list of ideas and fill it in on the menu. I go through a little bit of advice about how to pick. And in this example, came up with a menu of crudites with hummus for an appetizer, sangria and lemonade for beverages, grandma's potato salad for a salad, hamburgers for an entree, and a fruit platter for dessert. This is for an example of somebody who has a dairy allergy. Now, once you've got food figured out, the last thing to figure out is what are you going to do for entertainment? If you're going out to the theater, you've got built-in entertainment. Otherwise, you might need to put a little bit more effort into having something there for everybody to enjoy. And it's really important to think ahead, even if you are going to theater, of a few things to talk about and to get conversation going and keeping it lighthearted. If you put so much effort into coming up with a special menu for a party where there's a guest with an allergy, it can be really time together talking about adverse reactions and how difficult it is to live with an allergy and symptoms. And that doesn't really make for great conversation. If you want to talk about the food that you do have, that's great. And even better is talking about some of the things that you share in common, whether it's shared interests in reading certain books or the latest shows that you've been watching. Maybe you've gone to the theater before, or maybe this is your first time to the theater, and you can ask your other theater goers, hey, when was the last time you went to a theater? What did you see? What did you think? How does this go? There's lots of things you can talk about besides allergies. So take a little time beforehand and either plan out some specific entertainment ideas, whether it's music or stories or something more involved. Or if you're going someplace that has lots to talk about, think ahead of time, just a couple questions that you can ask to get conversation going. The day of the party, be sure to set the scene. If you're having a party at your house, just tidying up and putting out a bouquet of flowers, maybe your best tablecloth, some little touches like that would be great. If you enjoy decorating and are good at this stuff and it's going to be fun and not stressful, don't do anything that's going to stress yourself out. But if it's fun for you to decorate, go check out Pinterest and all kinds of other places that have all these great ideas and pick a few things that you want to do to make this setting special. And finally, relax and enjoy the party. This is a chance to get together with friends and people that you care about. So enjoy it. Now, if this has been helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can click the red subscribe button, and then YouTube will keep you informed with all the latest videos from me and other similar videos out there. Best of all, if you want to keep in touch, go over to hungrynordic.com and there'll be a pop-up that asks for your email, or go over to messages on hungrynordic.com and send me a message. But one way or another, send me your email. Let's keep in touch. I'd love to hear what you're doing, what you're up to. If you're throwing a party for someone with allergies, or if you have allergies and are going out and braving the world outside your own kitchen. whatever it is, I wish you the best, and let me know how it goes. Hey da!